Let's talk about this brand new release. Let's go. Of course, before we get started, make sure you understand that there are risks in trading, and let's talk about how we storm the gates of the markets with the AlgoBox Pro system. This is going to be version 9.1.6.3. Very first note, I want to make sure you understand that you do need to uninstall old versions. If you have old versions of AlgoBox, yes, the answer is do uninstall it. You can go into your control panel settings and go through the standard uninstall process, or you can go into the NinjaTrader 8 folder. We have our own custom uninstaller in there as well, but make sure you uninstall first. And then let's go grab that installer from our website first, and then I'm going to get that installed and show you guys all of the new features in this release. Let's go. Two primary ways to come and download the application itself. You've got the download button right here on our website, algoboxpro.com. Download button right there, or up here at the top. If you are a menu type of person, you can grab it right there. Either way, going to take you to this form right here. If you are brand new with us, you will need to fill out this form. Now, those of you guys who are premium members, already paid for our system, already have it installed, you have another way to do that. Let me show you that real quick. If you're inside of our Discord room and you are already a premium member, you have your own section that you have access to. Again, this is only for premium members who have already purchased our product. You have access to this section down here. Premium members only. Go to the premium members only section right there, and there is a download right here, download for premium members. That will take you straight to the download link so that you do not have to go back and refill out this form. Download that, get it to your PC. There is going to be a message that says, hey, are you sure you want to do this? Let me show you that. Through one of those two methods, you'll be brought to this download page right here. You will find this one. It will have the release date, October 28th, and here is the download now button. When you select this, you will be met with a message that will take you to a new dialog. Make sure you go ahead and hit that download button. Again, depending on what browser you're using, this may look slightly different. I'm using Chrome right now. Go ahead and hit that download. Hit that download anyway. You're going to get all the warning, typical warning messages stuff. Go ahead and hit download anyway and select a place on your desktop to make sure, or your PC, to where you remember where you put that, because you're going to need to come back and get that executable and run that when it's done. It is a large one. It's 289 megabytes, so make sure that you click all the buttons that say, allow this. Depending on your browser, again, we have had some people with issues where it's like, well, this is being blocked by whatever blocker you've got. Make sure you use a different browser if you're having any issues with that. That saves us a lot of time through our technical support room. If you would, make sure and do that for us. All right, let's go. Okay, so for myself, I'm using Chrome, and Chrome will put a link down here at the bottom where you can grab that. So here's mine right here. I'm gonna go ahead and open up this file and run it straight from this location, just simpler for me. Go ahead and hit open. Now you are gonna be met with a few dialogues from Windows. This one right here, again, we are not a standard Microsoft provider. We don't have any association with Microsoft. So they're like, hey, this is an unknown publisher. Don't let this concern you. Obviously, of course, we're unknown to them because they don't know Vinny. They don't know AlgoBox Pro. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll get on their favored list. But for now, you need to go ahead and click on that little button there and select Run Anyways. Okay, make sure you don't be like, hey, my computer's stopping this. Again, one of the ways we get a lot of these in our technical support section. Make sure you hit that button. The one I probably should have paused there. I just selected a little option there that allowed me to have this Run Anyway button right here. Now I've got the option to go ahead and hit Run Anyways. So let's go ahead and run through that install. All right, so this is going to be your installer. We are just going to next through all the way through. Get to this section right here. The most important one is on this radio button. We get a lot of these in technical support as well. Make sure you select the top one. We are not going to go over installing the auto bot pack. That is separate only for gold members who purchased on our old website. This is not going to be supported in the future. So again, if you are planning on getting the auto bot pack, you will need to pick that up before the old website goes down. The old website is vinnyemini.com. You'll notice that what we're talking about here is algoboxpro.com. If you are interested in getting the bots that come with gold, you will need to get that on the old website before that site goes down. After we release this, I will be taking that down within the next week before November starts and all the Black Friday stuff comes. That will only be on the new website, and we will not be supporting the old full auto packs. But if you are grandfathered with us, we will support you in that. So just a note there as we're going through the installer. Make sure you select the Pro Gold Edition required section and go next on through the rest. Agree to the terms. Next, finish all the way through. You'll get to this dialog, and I'll go ahead and pause this, but this takes a minute, and you'll get that installed on your PC. Okay, if you're brand new with us, you may want to go ahead and click on this View My Next Steps PDF button here. Go ahead and exit, and now this should be installed, and we're going to launch NinjaTrader. Just click on the NinjaTrader launcher, and this will pick it up, and everything will be set up there for you. Let's go. Okay, as you are going through the installer, as you launch NinjaTrader, you may be faced with this dialog. Whoops, going back there. It's not letting me zoom into that. This one right here, the NinjaTrader has detected assembly This is one of our AlgoBox licensings. I don't know, go on top of that. But yes, AB licensing help menu. Ensure that you want a trusted source. You want to authorize these add-ons. You will need to select yes on this. Go ahead and click yes, and your NinjaTrader will start to launch, and all of your charts will get opened up after you select yes on that dialog. It's important that you select that, or things will not work properly. If something is not quite working right, go back, go through the installer again, and make sure you select yes to accept that trusted license installer. All right, so on first launch, your screens may or may not look like this. This is a standard 1080p. I'll take a moment here to talk about different screen types and setups. Everybody knows, you think about it, people all around the world, everybody's got different setups, laptops, full screen PC setups, 4K, one screen, multiple screens, all that in between. This out of the box is designed for 1080p for the very first screen, but we do have 4K layouts as well. So let's talk about those here in just a moment. But you may be met with this kind of layout where you can tell there are no charts, no candles on our charts right now, so I need to make my connection. So make sure you connect first. If you have not gotten your connection set up, if you're brand new with us, go through. I'm not going to go through that in this video, but in one of our other videos, number 5 in our setup videos, you will see the data feed connections. Make sure you connect, and your charts will come up here just like this. All right, so once you've made connection, your charts are going to pop up. They're going to be loading up like this, so you're going to see those. Make sure that you are on the proper contract month. Again, right now, as we are doing this at this time in October, you're going to be on the 12/22 contract. However, if yours are still not populating, although NinjaTrader should, by default, out of the box, it will say, hey, would you like to get on the latest contract? You can select OK, and it should get you on the latest contract month for futures if you were using this in futures. And again, our system can, some people don't know, can be used on stocks, crypto, and Forex. So that's a whole other video series into the future. So when you launch this up, you'll notice, maybe if you guys who have been around for a while, you'll notice the background on this right now for me is gray. This has to do with NinjaTrader skins. So NinjaTrader 8 has, they've got their own default design to come out with something they call slate gray. I'm going to show you guys how to change those options. I personally like a black background on my screens. Now there's a couple ways to do this. So I actually really like the slate gray that they have out of the box for everything else. Like over here on the right, I really like the slate gray on my chart trader. So pay attention to the subtleties. I'm going to talk about some nuance here, as well as some psychology of colors that we've got in another video. But I think that it's important to make sure that your colors are right the way that you want them when you're first setting up. So you'll notice there's some differences between yours and mine. Probably has to do with the skin that you've selected. But what I actually like to do is this. I'm going to go into each of my charts here, and I want to set this background to black. So right now you'll see it's got this one. It has the slate gray background based on the active, they call their skin. But if I want this to be black back here, so now I get this, but I also, because of the slate gray, I get this nice gray color offset over here. So I personally like this. So I like to leave the skin alone, but pay attention and note, you will have to change this on each of your charts as you go through and select these to change the background to black on each one of these if you want to do that. Or let me show you the shortcut way if you want to just change your skin, and I'll show you the subtle difference on that. So let's go to Tools on your control panel window here, Tools, and select Options. Inside of here is the default skin. Again, not for everybody, just depends on what you selected when you did your installation for NinjaTrader. This has to do with NinjaTrader, not AlgoBox. But you'll notice the skin here is set to slate gray. You'll see the other options that they have out of the box right here. So the slate dark will change this to a black background, as well as the dark up here. Either one, you can play with those to see which one you like. I'm going to show you guys here what slate dark looks like. Here, I'll select OK. But before we do that, one more thing, please go to the trading section right here. You need to do this. We have this in one of our videos. It is crucial for your trading psychology right here. We do not want this to stand out. If you are different in the simulation color versus your live color, we talk about this in depth right here. This is the time to do it. This is not out of the box. You will need to set this yourself. Right now, your simulation color has some other, I think it's a gray out of the box color. Go ahead and right now, select this and select transparent. You do not want a difference between your sim and your live colorings on your chart trader. This has to do with you feeling like you've got these safety wings on, and when you go live, all of a sudden there's this new color thing in your eyes that will cause you all of the other different fears and anxieties that already come with shifting from sim to live. And I talk about this in depth, which is why I am not just saying this is not a cosmetic change. Make this change right now while you're here going through this video, and encourage others in our room. Folks, if you see somebody trading with a simulation color outside of transparent, if it is different, help them out. Point them to the video. You guys know the one in our room that you can point them to. Type in !psychology, and you will understand the psychology of color, and dealing with simulation colors that are different than your live colors is a bad idea. So there we go. I have beat that dead horse right here on the trading section. Click on transparent, select OK. And also right now, I've gone ahead and I'm gonna show you guys what slate dark looks like. And I'm gonna go ahead. This requires you to restart NinjaTrader, so you'll get this message there. It's really weird. It doesn't let me zoom in on those. I think they are different types of WPF forms, Windows forms. But right here, I'm gonna go ahead and select OK, and I'm going to restart NinjaTrader, and I'll show you guys what this looks like. Okay, so I've relaunched NinjaTrader. This is the skin on slate dark instead of just the slate gray. You'll notice the right-hand side, this has a black background. It's a little bit harder, in my opinion, to see the designations and the separations between the various charts, but take your pick, play around with it a little bit. I like that there's a little bit of gray in each one of these, just slightly, but I do like the other one, and then having to manually go and change the backgrounds to black is also an option on that. But I do think that the deeper and the darker that this background is makes the rest of these colors pop out to you. So I do recommend, no matter what, I do think that you should change this background to a black. Just my personal recommendation on that. There are some people who like the gray, and if that's you, that's fine. But I do want to take the note that if aesthetically you enjoy the gray background on it, just be careful if you're having a harder time with visuals. I will say, please make the change for yourself and go ahead and put that as a black background, or select one of these skins if you're feeling a little lazy like me sometimes and I don't want to change all of them. Now, you might think, oh, well, it's only 5 charts, Vinny, it shouldn't be a big deal. Really, technically only 4, because the center one is set to a navy for us. I like this one as our primary filter chart to be a slightly different color, just to make it stand out visually. Again, a lot of what we're doing here, approaching the markets like a video game, is a lot of high visuality, being able to visualize price and their entries that we have. So those are important items. Let me show you guys the next thing here as we expand into our other workspaces. So let's take a moment to talk about workspaces. If you select this little button right here, this will be your workspaces icon. Now, if you want to expand out a little bit wider, notice I am pulling out the width, and you'll see that these little icons have text behind them. You'll have workspaces, connections, and help. As I squeeze this in, some people are like, hey, I don't have that for some reason. It is because of how small it is out of the box by default. So you'll need to become familiar with these little icons right here. This is the workstation icon right here. And these are the ones that come out of the box. Again, you may have way more than this. If you have been using NinjaTrader for a period of time, you have your own custom ones, that's fine. But this is out of the box. This is the standard 1080p that I was telling you. Remember 1080p, this is the standard high definition 1080p workspace. Now, you probably have a 4K screen. Most people do these days. So we want to start talking about these two right here. I'm still going to recommend that you start out with the 4K single screen rather than the one that is dual. We'll talk about that later. I am phasing out this other one because I think I've got a lot of reasons. We'll talk about that in another video. But let's go ahead and I'm going to switch to the 4K single screen. I'm going to select this one, and we want to make sure that we have closed out our others first. So make sure that you highlight one and close it first. It's just a good habit to get into because your computer can start to crash if you got a slower machine, etc. Go ahead and close other workspaces first. What you never want, you never ever want to have 2 workspaces open at the same time. They'll be behind each other and you don't know that it's eating up all the processing on that other one. Make sure you're only using one workspace at a time. Crucial. We have put this in other videos as well, so I'm going to make a note of that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close out this one, and I'm going to launch the 4K single screen right now. Okay, so let's mention a few things about workspaces and layouts. So obviously with my layout, what I've got here, let me press 4, hopefully things don't go crazy here. Escape right there. Okay, so in my layout, I've got multiple screens, right? Now remember, 1080p is 1/4 of 4K. That's why they call it 4K, because it is literally 4 times HD, right? So one of those screens that you guys saw, that was my default setup, 1080p. That's one of these smaller screens, 1080p. This whole 4 quad section, 1, 2, 3, 4, this section over here, pretend like I don't have these other screens over here on the left. These 4 right here, this represents what a 4K screen is. All of this, all in one 4K. If you go and do what I've told you guys to do, to use my standard setup and go get a 55-inch 4K monitor that will be, or a TV, that will be equivalent to this, and you will save a lot of money and a lot of headache. Even on your PC side, you won't need a lot of connections. You won't need dual video cards, any of that kind of stuff to support lots of monitors and things. You can get one video card that supports up to 4 monitors, and we want you to set up 3 in the ideal case scenario. We are going to talk about that here for a minute. So let me put one of my other buttons here that goes to a show all, Let's do this one right here. This should zoom in, and now I can see 4 screens of mine at the same time. But you notice on your screen right now, you should be seeing what you will look at if you have one 4K screen. I hope this makes sense to you guys. If you're confused by this, type your question down in the comments down below. But this is 4 of my 1080p's in one 4K screen. And what have I selected? This is in the workspace here on the 4K single screen right there. Okay, and again, just because of the way that I'm streaming to you guys and being able to stream one screen at a time, I have it set up like this. But I am definitely moving over to my other screen set up over there on the left hand side in my room. You guys have seen that setup. Hopefully, well, if you haven't seen it, that's okay. We'll talk about that later. Let's go into this layout here. So right now you'll notice all of my setups here are black. Again, I will shift for myself. I will use the slate gray skin, and I will change all of my backgrounds to black. That is just how I prefer. So if you're wondering, if you're seeing on my live streams or my screen setups or my screenshots and you're like, my colors are different than yours, Vinny, it is because that is simply an aesthetic with the skins. You guys can change yours accordingly. Hopefully you guys understand what I've said there. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on Discord or down in the comments down below. We'll get those answered for you. So this is what your layout is going to look like. You've got your NASDAQ on the bottom left. Again, right here, it puts the buttons for you that you're going to be entering in. One of our most popular and most active instruments, the NQ. If you don't know the personalities of the NASDAQ, this is one of our primaries, and this is why. So I want this in my focus, in my setup, and my layout right here. And you're moving around the boards here. We've got our YM right up above it, and of course our RTY. Those are our 3 primaries. Now, if you are still trading ES, please pay attention. I am asking you, stop trading ES. If you want the easiest hint in the world, the best hint I can show you guys tonight, even if you're not using our system, stop using ES as a primary entry instrument. Use this as a guide tool. All right, this should be the G, the guide, but you should be trading the other 3 instruments, in my opinion. I've got lots of reasons why you should be doing that. So please, if you've come from other places and you're like, but I trade Emini because this is what I've always done, I've traded the ES, just please, just try it out. Try me, and you'll see what I mean. Eventually, you'll know, okay, and understand. So we've got our 4 instruments here. These are all correlated instruments that we primarily focus on. Yes, we do have crude oil and gold, and if you do have extra space on your screens like I do, maybe you want to go ahead and on your screen setup over here on the left, you can set up some crude and some gold over here on the left, depending on your configuration. But this is our primary objective here. Let me one more, before we get into the features and all that kind of stuff that we're gonna be talking about here today, please give me one moment. Let me show people what you should be doing with hardware and why we suggest doing this with your hardware. Let me pull over Discord and let's talk about a few of our layouts and setups for most of the members in our crew. What I think is very important to start with good hardware, a good foundation. Let's talk about that here for just a moment. All right, allow me for a moment to pull up my browser here and go into our Discord room. And on the left-hand side, if you'll scroll down on this menu on the left, there is a section on our computer setups that some of our other members have. Let's take a look at some of those. All right, so if you're looking for this section, you're going to be over here on the left-hand side going to the trader feedback, where our members can also post some of these as well as my own. Right here in the computer setups. This is, again, I would like you guys to all show me these for you so I know, like, when I am helping you out with our mentorship, if we have one-on-one calls, I want to know, where are we starting from? Do you have things set up? I actually kind of do a little critique on this one right here. One of our members, maybe they're new, but you see this right here? Pop quiz, those of you guys who have been around me for a while, what's the problem right here? He's got a simulation color problem right here. He's already, this screen setup, this, again, I've gone into in-depth detail as to why this is a problem, but this person has the wrong simulation colors. This needs to be set to transparent. So before anybody's jumping on this, I want to point this out. This is the absolute ideal layout from a hardware perspective, okay? But this person is missing out on the simulation color. So whoever this is, please make sure you go and change that simulation color for yourself. But this is the ideal layout. What do they have here? They've got a 55-inch center screen, which is equivalent to the 4 screens that I showed you just a minute ago on my setup. 1 is better than 4, okay? And it's much cheaper at Walmart. You can get this for about $300 or $400 now in the US. And then, of course, I believe you need 1 additional, okay? You do not have to have 2, but I still believe that having 2 is more beneficial, and we'll talk about why. Now, this one, they've got this configuration in the way that I have done this on my live streams, where I've got my 3 primary charts for an instrument right here in this layout. So that right there is all in queue. And they've got 3 of the primary entry charts with the filter chart on the left right here. And then what's this one over here? This other layout with the secondary monitor on the left allows them to push the high time frames to be able to see higher time frame movements and setups over here on the left. Gives you more visibility on the high time frame charts, which are our two setups, which is the tide and the wave, right? We do a triple screen setup filtering. We do the tide, the wave, and of course we talk about the ripples. Those are the small ripples on the water that we talk about, not the Ripple coin as in a crypto. So those of you guys who are crypto guys, I'm not talking about ripples when the Ripple coin when I say Ripple charts. Those are our entry charts on the AlgoBar time frames, okay? So this is a great layout, clean layout. This is it. This is the absolute perfection right here. I do like the little light up here as well. I have one of those on my setup. And I'll show you guys mine here right now. If you scroll up a little bit, here's another perfect setup somebody's got here, where we've got the center screen with the two flanks on the left and the right. Here's mine. I've labeled this out. These are 32s. If you want them to match up perfectly edge to edge like this, you want the 32s to go along with your 55s. Now, you don't have to. If you've got 27s laying around, a lot of people have 27s and they've got that in this configuration, but I really do like this. Now, this center screen is a 4K. People always ask, do I need 4Ks on the right? No, in fact, you will save yourself some major horsepower if you do 2K on the right. If you don't know what 2K monitors are, here are the numbers right here. You can write these down for yourself. 2560 by 1440. This is the resolution of 2K monitors, and you will save yourself a lot of headache if you've got those on the right and the left. Yes, you can downgrade those 4Ks to a 2K. I realize you can do that, but you'll notice if you are doing that, you will get blurriness in your screen. So I'm just telling you, from one guy to another, sometimes you don't know why I'm telling you to do certain things, but I always have a reason. I am obsessive about the things that we do. You'll notice I've got some nice light down here on my area right here. This comes from this little light bar right up here. This light bar changes your entire environment. I really do like these. I think they're great. Particularly with, they've got some with colors and things. I'm not big on the colors on this section. You guys know I love me some color, but right here, I just want to be able to see my clean desk area where I've got my notepad and pens over here on the right. I got a space for my water. One of our members actually made me this mug right here. This is a custom property of AlgoBox. That's beautiful, love it. But this is my layout here that I would suggest and that I am personally moving to for the majority of all my trading. I actually like this layout more than this setup that I've got right here. I have been with this style of setup for forever, and I thought I would never be able to pull myself away from it, but I forced myself for a while to use it over there on the left-hand side in my room. Let me see if I zoom out here. Over there on the left-hand side, right over there, I've got my setup over there that I've been sitting at. You see all the bubbles on my screensaver right now, but I am really enjoying that setup, and I may be moving that kind of to my centerpiece. As you guys see us move forward, we will probably be doing some of that, but I do recommend that you have this setup and layout for a lot of reasons. This is just going to put you in the proper setup for you, comfort level. This keyboard and mouse is important as well, in my opinion. You guys need to get those set up and layout. If you're wondering what back arms that I have here, again, I have a little bit of a smaller desk than all this. You don't need a desk that fits the entire space. You can supplement it with these. These are about $28 on Amazon, and you guys can go and check those out and get yourself a layout. Here is the full zoom back on mine. And yes, this is actually a sit stand desk, so this one can go up and down. I do have a little foot massager rest thing down there when I am sitting at that desk. I like to put my feet on that one. It's got a nice little massage thing on it. But yeah, you guys should go check out this whole section, computer setups, and see some of the other setups from other individuals. Let me go to one more to show what is a minimum. Again, they've got the proper layout right here. This is great. But let me show you guys the absolute minimum. If you don't have the secondary monitors yet, you do want to have one off on the left. And I know some people in here have it. So let me go see if I can find one where they have just a single off on the left. One moment, I'll pause this and try to find it real quick. Yeah, so computer monitors have gotten so cheap and inexpensive, especially with the TVs and the 55-inch being so inexpensive these days. Most people have the two flanks, but if you are just starting out and you can't, I don't know, maybe if you're still not in an affordable range for you to get that secondary monitor, I do think that you should have a secondary over here on the left. If you've got our main setup, not even putting charts over here, we need some space for your Discord layout. It is important. We've got a video on that to make sure you get the Discord layout so that you've got 3 Discords in our room, 1 to the newsroom, 1 to the MacV Ultimate that's filtering all the time, 24/7, well, 24/5. And the third, you need to have our chat room right there going to see anything that's going updated in the room, and that news and MACV Ultimate is important. You need to have that on one of those screens. So you need to at least have the other side screen. I think here's another one where they've got just a center screen and one off on the right. This is the kind of minimum layout, but again, most people in our room are doing the 2 on either side, which again is still my absolute recommended. I'm so proud of you guys for doing these. Here we go. Here's one where again, this is the bare minimum. And again, this one, because he's got the high time frames on the left and the charts over here on the right, there you will need space for Discord. So you've got to figure out how to do that. Now, some of these guys have them on tablets. I still don't recommend this. Some people are doing the tablet thing. The problem with doing the tablet is you have a limit on, you cannot take screenshots and post them into our room. So again, I'm taking the opportunity right here, right now to go ahead and encourage you guys. Do what I've suggested. It will be night and day to you guys. And for me to be able to give feedback and help to you more directly, again, absolute perfect setup and layout. This is a bigger desk here, very nice on this layout, and it looks like potentially also a sit stand that can go up and down. Very, very cool. Most of our members are doing that, and I'm telling you, oh, it is so great to be sitting down on one of these workspaces. You really feel like it's putting you into a professional environment and a stance. You see all the guys who were on the floors in New York back in the day, if they're still around even to this day. There's not very many people on the floor anymore, but they are immersed by their monitor setups. This actually gives you an edge on those guys. And if you don't think so, I have a video of Guy Adami having a conversation with Tom Sosnoff, who they have agreed that retailers today, if you have an edge like we have with our video game style approach, they even talk about a video game style approach to the markets and said, man, one day somebody's going to create a video game style of this. And what's funny is they're talking about us and they don't even know that we exist, which is hilarious. One day they're going to come across AlgoBox and be like, this is what we've been talking about. Like, somebody's going to create this like a video game with, popping shooting stars in here. That's what they call it. But we don't quite have it like what they've said, but it's pretty darn close. And they have said that the retailer is now capable of beating hedge funds, which is why hedge funds are blowing out all the time. We have the capability of moving in and out of the markets quickly. We have the same commission levels they have. There are no advantages to being in these prop firms anymore, in my opinion, and as well as being backed up by Tom Sosnoff and Radigan as they've had their conversations. Again, this is a great setup. I forgot about somebody had gotten a custom mat for this. This is awesome. Let the tools do the work. I love this. And I got to get me one of these mats down here. But everything here, this is the minimum layout. Perfect. If you have this, it's perfectly fine. You do not have to have the other one, but again, very, very handy to have that secondary, because as you can see here, he's using high time frames off on the left. He's got his entry charts in the middle here. We can't tell. It looks like he might have, I think those are okay. I think he's got transparent there and he's got the gray skin, so I'm not gonna ding him on the simulation color here if that looks okay. I think that's transparent on gray background. That's no problem. But then that right monitor would give him the Discord rooms, because he's missing out on what? 3 things: the news feed, the MACV Ultimate that could be right there, and the chat to our room where important things are coming through on a regular basis. So there we go. Have I beat that dead horse? Fantastic. Let's move into the new features. It's feature time. Let's go. All right, so let's hit those release notes. Here we go. Those have been posted into the public chat. I'll also put those in the premium member section here. But this is the list that we're going to be going through here in just a moment, and particularly highlighting some of the big parts here. Like the very first one, let's go through Algo Voice. So Algos now have the option to do dictation of alerts. No more need to change the audio per instrument and per chart. So let's hop over and show an example of the Algo Voice right now. Okay, so I am switching over to my standard 1080p because this really is not necessary for like the 4K setup where you've got all of the instruments all there and you've got all the sound settings one time, one setup. But if you are traveling, for instance, or you are a person on a lower end machine where you can't necessarily, you're not at a point where you can afford a high end machine, you've got to run maybe a single instrument. This is handy to be able to switch instruments. It seems like it's such a small thing, but it is a big thing. All of our audio cues that pop up in here will say things like, we've got a setup, let's say that's a headshots, right? Or no, not a headshot, let's do a double dot, right? We've got a Fabella dot, NASDAQ on the twos. But, well, it's great if it's on the NASDAQ, but what happens when you change these to, say, the ES? So if I'm gonna go in here and I wanna change instruments, right click, I'm going to switch instruments here. I'm gonna go to instrument, go to ES. Now, mind you, I've got all these color linked for you guys, so if you want to switch between instruments, you can do that. But the problem in the past, or prior to our new version, we switched to ES, well, now the alerts would still be doing in-queue. You guys get that? So Algo Voice is going to automatically say, now it's going to say Fabella dot, ES on the, in this case, it's on the 3s. So if I wanted to change algo bars to the 2s on this one, it would also be cognizant of this change. You know, in the past, if you guys have been with me for the last, last 6 years in our AlgoBox program, you have had to adjust your sounds. You would have to come into this, you have to go right click. Let's go to one of our indicators as an example and show you guys where this is located. So go into your indicators list. So right click, go to indicators. Now I'm gonna go down here to the Fabella.pro that we just talked about here. So on Fabella.pro, I select this. Now my options are over here on the right, and right here you will see the Algo voice option is selected right there. So all you have to do is select the Algo voice right there. Some of its features here, the voice rate, you can make this go if you want to speed this up. So some people say, oh, I'd like it to speak really, really fast. You want yours to go, you want to say really fast, you can increase this speed right here, or you can slow it down. You can have slowest, you can have the fastest, up to you. Again, depending on how you would like your alert, you can speed up the voice right here, and this will auto dictate to you based on what is on your screen. So huge change. This is a major change for us on this, but this is not just for that one indicator, it's for all of them. So if I come in here to a JHook, same thing. I've got the Algo voice right there, got it set to normal by default on the 1080p setup. Now, this Algo voice is enabled for all of the indicators on the 1080p as of right now in this current release. Now, this may change in the future, so just watch this video later, this may slightly change and we make adjustments to it, but this is only on the standard 1080p right now because I assume that right now you have to switch between instruments where a chart may change and you've got this dialog that you may want to change. However, this would be also helpful on a 4K, even though you've got all of them all spread out and separated. Let's say that you wanted to check crude oil real quick, right? So if you want to switch the YM, like you're like, well, the YM is related to crude, so I want to switch over to crude oil, the voice will automatically change. However, right now, it's not going to do that because the 4Ks are still set to the old sounds. Because I knew that as I change this, look, it changes the entire voice. Based on your PC, if you're using Windows 10, if you have the male voice enabled, if you want to change that, you'll need to go into your own Windows settings to change from the male voice to the female voice, etc. There's changes. Now, if you're used to our old sounds and all the ones that you wanted, I've left that on the 4K for now. So if you want the classic sounds, they are there. If you want the new Algo voice, you will need to change this on your setups, and we do not have that in the workspaces right now. Again, I want to keep this simple and clean for folks, so we've only done our 3, and I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to eliminate this one, so it'll only be 2, and then people can adjust from there. It just keeps things simple for an installation and setup component for folks, and out of the box things are just easier for us to like not have 100 different types of configurations for you, but you can adjust this based on your own liking. So Algo voice, hopefully that makes that clear. If you change this down to a 1s, for instance, even on your 4K, Algo voice will automatically adjust. This will not happen on the 4K. So I would suggest if you are on the 4Ks to at least on the lowest time frame, you guys know that we adjust this based on BPM, right? What's BPM? That's bars per minute. If you guys have been following our speedometer, the new speedometer setup that we had released in our release prior to this one, we now have a speedometer that tells us basically when to sit out. That's one of the biggest components of knowing when to sit out in markets is, look, your strategy may work anytime, but when does it not work? Well, BPM speedometer will literally do that for you. It's an amazing what I would call a filter. Very straightforward, to the point, and that is our next feature that we're going to talk about right down here. That is in our speedometer. So if that BPM, if you want to adjust your BPM so that it's in a spot where you need it to be, if you need, you want the BPM to be greater than 30, right? That's my suggestion. You should not be trading if the BPM gets lower than that, and if it is, you better switch that ATM to the tiny ATM, which let's talk about that here real quick. There are new ATMs. I think these released in the most, not this release, but the one right prior to this one. Some people did not recognize that this is here because I didn't in the release notes to talk about it, but we do have the tiny ATM there that I have suggested for some folks to be using there. So you can use that one if you're going to be scalping. If the BPM is lower than 30, make sure that you are lowering your ATM expectation for your targets. You are talking about scalping out now 5 and 10 tick targets instead of going for 10, 15, 25s like we normally would. So keep that in mind. You got your ATMs now that are there, and let's talk about that speedometer. So right down here in the bottom right, this is still going to be one of my absolute favorite setups. I'm not connected right now. That's why this says 0. I'm going to go ahead and connect here real quick, and let's get some stats going on that. All right, so if you want in-depth how to use the speedometer, how we use it, and why we use it, go head over here to our new AlgoBox trading channel. Make sure you are subscribed to that, and you'll want to come down here, and here is the speedometer video a few back, or you can do searches on this. Some people don't know that you can do this, but I'm gonna kind of give this here while we're here. You're watching this video right here. Instead of doing a search on Google, finding all kinds of other stuff, if you want to search just in somebody's channel, right here, go to their actual channel and hit this little search button right here. Now this is gonna search only the videos on this channel. So if I want to see the speedometer, or videos that have that, whoops, can't spell properly, maybe spell speedometer properly. There we go, and boom, where we got it right there. There's my speedometer video. You can go check that out. So go watch that one in depth on how we choose our, how we choose them. However, that's going to show the old version of the speedometer. So now the updated version of that speedometer is basically just visually enhanced, easier to see. We also have an alert on this. So one of the new features is the alert. So let's talk about that. The now is obviously right now. Average, this is going to be over the last 4 minutes out of the box by default, but you can change both of those settings. Let's talk about that in the new features. I'm going to go into my indicators, going to the speedometer. Now, if you like the old speedometer, let's say that you want to do some old back testing and things, you're going to need the legacy speedometer. So I'm going to scroll down here in my list. You will see anything that has underscore legacy means it's the old version of our stuff. The legacy one allows you to see this as a histogram. That might be helpful. I'll show you guys here in a minute, particularly if you are going to be using the Gemini system in the future. It is not the Gemini, who everybody was like ready for, the Gemini, AKA the Enigma. The Enigma, which is our code name Gemini right now that we'll be releasing in the future, is not coming out in this release. I know I thought I was gonna put it in this release, but I've got some more testing I wanna do. I'm gonna be showing this live streamed for a while first to kind of get some hype around it, I'll be honest, and also it gives me a little bit more time to spend with it on configuring some of those precious settings that we need. But if you want to know how to look at those, you might need the legacy speedometer so that you can have it down as a histogram across the bottom, because this is only going to show you now real time, which is all we need in general, because I want to know, should I be taking trades right now or not? And the speedometer settings are just going to be screaming at you right there in the middle of them. And again, you're going to have a speedometer set for each of the instruments, and you can set the alert. So let's go in here to the speedometer settings, click on speedometer in your list that are configured. This is the list here. Some people don't know that this is the selections available, and this is what is configured on your chart. So that's the difference in these two sections. So I'm coming down here to the ones that are configured, go to speedometer, and then over here on the right, you'll see, of course, we've got our algo voice options here and our alert value right here at 50. Now, the alert value, this is going to say literally, what's the BPM? What do I want an alert for? Out of the box, I already have this set for you. It is going to alert you right now. When this gets above 50, you will get an alert. And I believe we have it's only going to do this once per minute or maybe every 30 seconds. So it's not going to be something that's going to overly alert you, and it will have to drop down before it will do it another one. But we have this. It's not going to sit there and over 50 it's going to sit there and like continuously alert you. It's not. It will be there is some spacing in between that is inside the code there, so you're not going to have to worry about that. Okay, so you got the algo voice enabled right now. You can change this. You can set this to any sound alert that you want. If you wish it to say something else, if you want it to have it say something else, you can customize the alert, put it for yourself. But here by default, it's going to alert you when it goes above 50. Now remember what I told you? When do we want to trade? Over 30, okay? However, I didn't want it to be too chatty Cathy for people, so I have set it to 50 for now. You may want to set this to over 30. Me personally, I will probably have mine over 30 on it, so it gives me that alert. And of course, here is the average over minutes. By default, it is every 4 minutes. You guys know that our system kind of optimized every 4 minutes as it is. So I am keeping it in that same window so that we are keeping in tune with that. However, if you feel like you would like to have it for longer, if you want it to be like, you know what, I want it for 20 minutes, you have your personal reasons for how you want to see that. It's up to you. You can change that on your own. We have it by default on what I would be setting it to there at 40. And I think 50 is pretty good as an alert anyways as well. So that's just me, because oftentimes if I spike all the way up over 50, that means I'm probably going to be able to be in that window of 30 to 45, which is that absolute sweet spot if I know that we've touched 50. So that's my thinking on going ahead and setting that to 50 as well out of the box. So that is one of our major features there. That's the algo voice. We talked about the speedometer. AlgoBox Gemini. So this has been eliminated from our current release, so I forgot to remove this from the release notes. This is not coming out in this release, but if you guys want to see more of the Gemini system, I'm going to show you that here at the end of this. Stay tuned. You are going to see something absolutely incredible. It's going to blow your mind. but this is codenamed Gemini, but this is the Enigma. If you guys have been following ICT for a while, we're going to show ICT what a real Enigma algo looks like, how it can specifically be in tune with the markets. I'm going to show you guys the results from that. It is going to blow your mind. So those of you who are ex-ICT students, or if you want to like go ping your buddy who's an ICT fanboy, tell them if they want to see what the real Enigma is, I will be releasing the Enigma and all of its results, and you can see it live streamed on this channel. If you guys want to come check that out right now, codenamed Gemini, and when it's in release, full release, will be the AlgoBox Enigma. Stay tuned for that, and you guys are going to see why ICT is a complete con man and a fraud, but you guys want to see what a real Enigma algo looks like, you're going to want to come and hang out and check that out. All right, we talked about the speedometer legacy, the multi-threshold levels in the alpha omega. So let's go talk about that in the alpha omega. We are going to have specific training around that coming next week as well, so look forward to that. Let's go into those settings, right-click indicators. Let's check out our alpha omega right here. Flowmaster alpha omega on the right-hand side. We now have thresholds that you can set on your own. So right here, the high-low strength value, this is to trigger whether you want it to change colors or not. So we've got different colors for these. We've got even in our Fibella dots, right? We have the multicolors where we've got blue and pink, means it's even heavier and bigger. You can set this to your own. We'll be doing training around this on how I would suggest for you to set up. You'll notice I don't have any sounds on this. Up to you if you want to see those. I think I don't know that this is super helpful to have alerts on, so I've got them turned off for now. If you would like them to turn on, make sure to select Algo Voice, or you can select your own custom sounds to put in for the up or the down right there and available for yourself. But these are new setups that you also have available. If you do want them to draw horizontals, again, on the lower time frame, I do not have horizontals drawn, but on the higher time frames, I do. I think that those are more powerful pivot levels than dealing with straight up normal pivot levels for support and resistance. These are levels that we want to look at, more important because you have seen the algorithmic activation at that level. This is how we trade support and resistance levels, is we are looking for algorithmic activity at specific zones and pinpoint areas where we know you've got a volume imbalance on bid asks. This is what you want to see, in my opinion. So those are there in the alpha omega system. So be looking for those settings, and we'll be talking about that in our training videos around the alpha omega next week. All right, so let's go into other features here. So bug fixes and enhancements. The ability to set transparency on your Flowmaster bubbles. That is going to be for the higher time frames. I won't go into all of these, but some people wanted these to be able to change the transparency. So right now they're at 100, obviously, but if you want to make those so that they're a little more subtle, whatever, that was one of those wish list items that people had asked for. So we've got transparency set for that. Transparency on the rivers. So the rivers, those are the zones around the major golden ropes. Those are the EMAs, the 50, the 200, and the zone around it. We call those the rivers. So what do we use that for, particularly with the two-finger salute? If those are inside there, you are going to want to reverse those in general. We've got a lot of rules around that. You guys go check that out. But these are now available for transparency settings, so you can turn those kind of down a little bit. Transparency of the speedometer. So you can, if you're using the legacy one, you don't really need that over here, but in the legacy one, this allows you to turn down the average, because what we had noticed was the average one, when you don't really need to see the average, it's more important to know what now is. Oftentimes those two tags will get in front of each other. You now have the ability to change the transparency of the speedometer legacy for things like in the future, where you guys are going to have access to this. You're going to be wanting to look at historical BPMs. Or if you're doing some back testing for whatever other reason, if you want to see what the BPM was at, on this date at this time without having to run specifically market replay, you can turn on the legacy indicator there and you'll be able to adjust that on the fly. Ability to set the location of favorable direction. That's a neat one. So some people have asked, hey, Vinny, can I move this favorable direction to some other location? Right here is in the center. I always tell people, I like this screaming at you right in the middle of your face, like you feel really stupid going against whatever the longest favorable, whatever the favorable direction is. I want it right in the center of mine, but some people have asked, hey, can I move this to other locations? So we have 4 locations besides the center that you can do that to. So if I go in here to change this from the center location, if I want it on the bottom left, this might be a popular area. So maybe right down here, now it says AlgoBox longs favorable in the corner. You can adjust that. That was a wish list item from some folks. So we are hitting the wish list item. So if there is something you would like to see from our system, you can put it in the wish list item. And yes, all of our changes that we do. Any upgrades in the future are included in what you purchased. Ability to set location favorite, we talked about that one. Removed audio alerts from the Mac V. This was getting super chatty Cathy stuff. People have asked, can we pull those out? They're out now. Removed speedometer lines, especially because of Mac V Ultimate, by the way. So if you need to be looking at the Mac V Ultimate. If you don't have the Mac V Ultimate open in our Discord room, by the way, that is free, open to the public. You guys, even if you're not using our system, you know, ICT students who, you know, look, I think ICT targets, you know, very low income locations where you feel like you can't afford anything. Look, you can come and use Mac V Ultimate for absolutely free. Some of our tools are also free and included, regardless whether you have payments for our system or not, including the speedometer. The speedometer is free. If you would like to know, is the BPM at a speed where you should be trading right now or not, you can come and check that out. That is also free for the public, right? Remove the speedometer lines from the algo. I think this was switching over to legacy. We had wanted to do that, so we put that in the legacy system. It's still there. So you change Gemini color scheme. This has to do with Gemini. That's not being released quite yet. Fix the auto scale on the JHook entry line. Some people had noticed that when you have a JHook show up, that this was just a scaling thing that would push off the screen and kind of squish in your charts a bit. So that is also fixed, bug fixes and all that kind of good stuff. This video is running a little bit longer than I expected it to. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Happy Saturday. I will catch you guys on Monday. I might do another video tomorrow. We'll see. It's going to be a quick one if it is. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I'll catch you on the flip side. For me, Pippi, Robbie, Lunchbot, Mod Squad, Curtis, G, and the rest of the gang, I am sending out the big H-Town. See ya. I just realized I forgot to show you guys the Gemini system, so that's probably what I'm going to do in the next video. Stay tuned for the Enigma. Let's go.